We have a flop. And a check, check. Looks like Stefanski raised his button and Dean defended the big blind. And wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Stefanski and Dean clashes here as I move on. Stefanski doesn't look real crazy about his hand. Interesting to see if that's real or a little gamesmanship. I think these two players have enough respect for each other that I don't see a lot of fake tells coming from either one of them. I think they both know better than that. This is one of those situations that generates big pots sometimes. The top pairs, there are a bunch of draws. If they both have a jack in their hand, we could see a big pot, especially if Stefanski has a hand like a full house or ace jack. Since he's taken some time, I think Stefanski at least calls here. And he's going to raise it up. Big raise. This could be a bluff with a 9, but I don't see a hand with a 9 that he could have that wouldn't have made a hand by now that he could at least call with. So I don't see a lot of hands in his bluffing range other than King-Queen. I think he's got the hand most of the time, and if I was Dean, I would consider folding even a hand like Jack-9. I don't think you're going to win very often even with a jack unless it's a really good jack, and I think Stefanski has trips are better, straighter, full house here almost all the time. Sure feels like a full house, but Stefanski is a great player, and he might make you think he's got a full house. Eric from Vegas doesn't think it's a bluff. He thinks Stefanski was strong on the turn, and I think so too. I think Stefanski really has a hand here. Dean must also be quite strong. If he was weak, he would have folded a long time ago. He must also have a pretty strong hand. Maybe a jack, maybe a hand like Queen Jack or King Jack, or maybe even a straight. Yeah, 10s is not a bad guess. From CSAP 1270. That's certainly one of his, part of his raising range, although. Yeah, that makes sense. The way he played it out. So does Jack 10. Pair of 9s, pair of 8s. Pair of 9s wouldn't have turned it into a bluff on the river, I don't think, but a pair of 8s could have done it. Given that it was a button raise, I think Jack 10, Jack 9, Jack 8 are all in his range. Jack 9 might not be in his river raising range. I wonder if the players are watching the stream. I like, some rooms have rules against using electronics at the final table. When there's a broadcast and you can interact with the people on the broadcast, I think that's a really bad policy. I love that these players could be watching the Twitch stream, commenting on the Twitch stream, talking about things. If one of these players were to get on and answer questions in chat, talk while they're playing, that's really entertaining. It's really fun to be able to interact with a player in that way and get their thoughts on hands that are really, there's a lot of money involved here. I see that all these players have had their phone out periodically, and Yaziki and Kaplan have both had their phone out in the last few minutes. And Dean has been off it on his phone as well. So I'm sure that at least a couple of these players are watching the Twitch stream. Because so many rooms have a rule against using your electronics at the final table, and so many players are uninterested in doing so, I think it's a unique opportunity here at Foxwoods to get players to talk about the hand while they're playing. See Kaplan checking his phone regularly, either looking at the Twitch stream or getting updates from someone who's watching the Twitch stream. And because we don't have hole cards, we don't have to worry about that. Not a problem. It'd be fun if we can make this stream better to the point where we don't need hole cards and we can be interacting with players without the hole cards so that we can interact with them in real time. It'd be a lot of fun. All right. Quick updates from Molly. Andrew Dean is at 2.25 million, so down some, and Bradley Yaziki's at 750,000 after that double up. And David Stefanski, with a little bit of luck and a lot of solid play, up to 1.7 million. Knocking on the door. Not far behind Dean now. And Andy Kaplan not far behind Yaziki at about 600,000. 20 big blinds. When the short stack is 20 big blinds, then we've got some poker to play.
Cody, I saw you for the narrator.
Just looking through what Foxwoods has to offer on their webpage, noticing 10x free odds on craps, which is no vig on buy bets if you lose your buy bets. I don't see a lot of rooms offering that. If you're a craps player, though, you probably already know that. And you probably know that Foxwoods is the place to play it. Discounts for seniors 55 plus. Rewards points that turn into gas cards. Ooh, coach for a cause. Charter a bus for your charity. If you go to the Foxwoods promotion page, there's really more stuff here than I can read off. I just got on their email list, and every few weeks I get the email to see what they're offering, and they'll offer you, excellent discounts on rooms, all kinds of useful packages. I'm on the mailing list for half the casinos in the country at this point. There's always some great promotion going on. It helps you to be able to go wherever you want to go. I'm headed to Vegas in a few weeks, and I know when I get there all the promotions that I'll be chasing. Dean stealing the big blind from the small blind. Uneventful 10 minutes or so here. After we had all those big chips moving around, everybody slowed down a little bit. We have a flop. Yaziki raised his button, called by Kaplan. 10 Jack 5 flop. 10 Jack flops have caused a lot of trouble at this table. Kaplan's going to make the call. Fairly ragged turn card. Whoever was ahead is probably still ahead, and they check through. And they check through again. Kaplan's going to win this one. And he's going to win it with a 5. Yeah, Eric from Vegas wants seat numbers for the players, no problem. Seat 1 is Andrew Dean. He's at about 2.2 million. Seat 2 is Bradley Yaziki, which is really seat about 4 at the typical table, but he's the second player. And the players are in order that Molly listed Yaziki with probably 700,000 now. And David Stefanski at 1 point. It's got to be 1.8 million now, maybe, in what would be the 6th seat, but what is our 3 seat. He's the third player from starting with the dealer's left. And then the last player just to the dealer's right is Andy Kaplan. right about 600,000. Well, that board got scary. I don't know if Dean can call here without a really big hand. Even if Kaplan didn't have much on the flop, he had enough to call, and he wouldn't bet a hand like a single king here. So he's almost got to have a big hand, given that board and how the draws all came in. There's just not a lot of draw he could have missed. And all those big cards out there, he's not going to bet one pair. So I think he had a big hand, and Dean made the right fold. Another raise from Kaplan. While Dean and Stefanski are deep enough to 3-bet fold, their opponents are not. If Dean 3-bets him here, he's got to know that he would have to call an all-in. Kaplan probably also knows that and won't go all in without a real hand. So he doesn't expect Dean to fold very often. Knowing that Kaplan has around 20 big blinds, you can't 3-bet fold against 20 big blinds very often. Online, which is where Dean has really made most of his money, a lot of players have a rule that you just can't 3-bet fold below 20 big blinds or 25 big blinds even. In live games, sometimes that's different. So he 3-bets and gets the fold from Kaplan, but he gets called by Stefanski in the big blind. Stefanski really not afraid of anybody today. It looks like that wasn't a call, that was a 4-bet. So the re-raise from Stefanski, and I think that's got to be a real hand. It's not a bad spot for a bluff, but Stefanski must know that he's going to have to call it all off once he's put that much in. And I guess he's probably put around 160,000 in. Could be more. Since he's out of position, it may be more. It may be as much as 200,000. In which case, he's going to have to call if Kaplan goes all in for the around 600,000 he has left. Actually, Kaplan may have more than that. Oh, interesting. We got an update from Minnesota Molly. Under the gun raised to 65,000. Dean re-raises to 135, and Stefanski makes it 330. So Stefanski, either with a big hand or a lot of guts, takes down a good sized pot there. Makes over 200,000 without a showdown, without even a flop. That's how it's done. Stefanski really putting on a clinic today. I'm sure he's running good. You have to run good to do this well, but he's also playing very well. sometimes running good makes it look like you're playing good, and sometimes it's the other way around, but he's had some of both today. A raise from Stefanski, and it looks like Dean's going to play pot with him. Stefanski and Dean are not backing down from each other. These guys want to play. And that keeps the shorter stacks, especially Yaziki, really on edge. They can't play a lot of pots because these big stacks are clashing and may very well, one of them may bust the other and move you up 10 or 20,000 in the payouts. The next jump is $10,000, and the jump after that is $28,000, and then $45,000 from there, more, up to $122,000 for first. There's a lot of money to be given away here. More than $250,000 still to be awarded amongst these four players. And I haven't heard even a discussion of a chop yet. Though we can't always hear what's happening with the table mic.
What you just said, there actually has not been any talk of chopping yet, which is kind of surprising in some ways and kind of not. I know that a lot of people like to call this chop woods, but so far, these four players, no one's even mentioned it yet. So that is correct. No talk as of yet. We'll see what happens after dinner break.
Thanks, Molly. Man, having a sideline reporter helps. That really makes life easier. I like that there's not been any talk of a chop, because that makes for a really exciting play for us. If they chop it and play for 1,000 when they've got 8 people left, we have a less interesting broadcast. There's real pressure on these guys right now, and given that they're all serious poker players, there may not be a chop. They might play it out. I think it'd be tough not to chop once you get the heads up that if the stacks are even close to each other. Especially if it's Stefanski and Dean. I'm sure those guys have respect for each other's games, and both will be very strong heads-up players. They've both won a lot of tournaments, and they can't make the kind of money that either one of them has made without being a pretty strong heads-up player. So I would guess they would at least chop up some of it. I've been in deals where with the 122,000 and the 78,000, where you make it 110 and 88, that kind of thing. Even it out a little bit and play for a little less of a difference to cut down the variance. Looks like Kaplan took one down. Showed top pair. He continues to chip up. he's lost a couple big ones and then gradually chipped up and gotten double ups when he needed them. I think he's still behind Stefanski, but I think Kaplan is really waiting. He's not going to play a big pot until Yaziki has either doubled up or gone out, because Yaziki is pretty short now. Oh, it was Stefanski that folded and showed the 9.
Just to be clear, I wanted to let you know that it was actually Stefanski that tape folded that 9 of diamonds in that hand. Kaplan actually didn't show anything, so Stefanski was in the tape for over a minute thinking about calling Kaplan shove, but eventually folded and showed the 9 of diamonds.
A big fold from Stefanski, although it was a fairly big shove. And Stefanski's been so good all day. You hate to make a bad call with top pair without a big kicker or a draw or anything to go with it, and you know, get rid of more than half your stack when you've worked this hard to build it. Especially with all that money loaded up top. And Yaziki's all in after a raise from Dean. Dean makes the call. Big pot coming. Dean's hand should be on the left. Well, he switched us to the flop cam so that we can see what we're looking at. And Dean has 9s. And the way those cards came in, it might be the other way around. You would usually have the first player's hand on the left. We'll see what happens here. And indeed, Dean had the 9s. So Yaziki fought hard all day, but he is out in 4th place. Brad Yaziki for 40,000. Good run. Probably use an extra 40,000, huh?
When you guys are all packed, just come out. Oh, really? Instead of for, yeah, you can start with it. You guys do that. Yeah. Andrew, you alright with that? Yeah. Anybody Andrew or Andy? I do Andy.
Looks like they're talking about a minor chop deal of some sort, I'm sure. Molly will let us know if something is done.
Andy's more like, hey, I'm fun. But we call it Dean. Andrew, not so much. I don't know, like Dean. It's a good last name. Good last name, we call it that. How do you guys know him? I've never seen him in my life. No? Oh, did you? We guys saw him.
And these three know each other well, and they're feeling chatty now. That sometimes happens when you've already made enough money to be really happy. The table relaxes some, and you're still very competitive, but you're not quite so stressed. Everybody, you know, the next player to go out has made 50 grand. That's a good day for anybody. So even in the midst of a hand, they were chatting, which hasn't happened a lot today until now. When that happens, I'll try to turn up the volume of the table noise, and we'll see if we can hear more of what they were saying. But they were discussing Brad Yaziki and whether anybody knew him. It sounded like Kaplan had never seen him before. And he had played less and cashed in less big live events than the other three. These three are all serious pros. It's not surprising given how good the structure was of this event that we just now are at the place where a starting stack is equal to a big blind. Got a pot brewing. A bet from Stefanski on the river. It's a sign of a good player that I always think he has it. I keep thinking he must have it. He must have it here. A lot of thinking. Would Stefanski have a 10 here? Would he have a set here? Or would he have nothing? This is one of the spots where he could have nothing. There's been a lot of spots today where I really thought he's got to have it. And, you know, to me it looks like he's always looks like he's got it, but this is one of the spots where it's possible that he's bluffing. If he's bluffing, he's really got nothing, and that seems surprising. If he had ace high here, he would probably check behind, since he's last to act. And I don't know that he would bet a deuce or a 5, or even that he could have a deuce or a 5 in his hand very often. So you have to think he's bluffing, or he's got something real. It's possible he's good enough to value bet a 5 here, but I don't think so. Looks like he did have it. He had the 10. Maybe he just has had it all day. Every time he's been called, he's had it, that's for sure. Dean looks up at the camera, not very happy. Not happy with the way that pot played out.
Hi, John. That is dinner time. Andrew.
We are on dinner break for an hour.
45 or around?
I imagine we'll get a report from Molly before we shut things down for dinner. We'll see you back here at 7 o'clock Eastern time.